Welcome back to another Saturday session. We've got a double session today. 4 pieces this morning, starting off with quite a long accessory, 5 sets, 10 right arm Turkish sit-ups, and then 1 seated L-sit legless rope climb, then 10 left arm Turkish sit-ups, 1 seated legless rope climb. Just rest as needed between. This took me a little under 25 minutes. Each set was taking about 5 minutes, including rest time, so quite a long one just to start the day. I haven't done these Turkish sit-ups before. I've done Turkish get-ups with the 24 kilo kettlebell, but these sit-ups are actually quite challenging, and they felt like they'd just go on forever. The rope climb was a good accessory to start with, being that it was a more strict version of a rope climb. So with the fresher arms, that was a good way to start and get some practice in and some volume of legless climbs, particularly with the L-sit. Got a good sweat on to start the session with this. Usually accessory pieces aren't as mentally exhausting or taxing, but just being such a big volume, this basically was another workout. The sit-ups, you're bracing pretty hard the whole time and working hard to stabilize, and then the rope climbs are quite a taxing movement, so pretty tough accessory, basically a workout to get the session started. The body's feeling pretty fatigued this week as the weeks progress. Haven't really had any rest, so just pushing hard, pushing through, just seeing what the body can handle and kind of pushing it to its point. Another week of hard training still to come before a little bit of a deload week, which is still going to be a decent week of training. It's just a touch less volume in total day to day, which I think my body and mind will appreciate a little bit. I'm starting to feel some levels of fatigue and exhaustion physically and mentally. And I do love training, but it does, get to you. Just with the work schedule, I work full-time as a brickies labourer, so it's 8 hours of physical work for 5 days of the week, and then doing a double session on Saturday and then training Sunday. It's going to build up over the weeks, and definitely need to have a little bit of recovery time to allow the body to adapt, get fitter so you can keep your intensity or push harder than you previously were, which is definitely important for me in these last few weeks before the Torian Pro, as need to be as sharp as possible, but also as confident in my fitness and my body's capacity. And currently my physical fitness, I feel as though is good. So knowing that I've only got probably another week of good hard training, a little bit of a deload, and then another probably week or 2 of solid training, just to get the body fully prepared, sharp, ready to go. This next week's all going to be a mental game, just around pushing through fatigue, seeing how the body can do, seeing if I can hang on when things get a little bit tough and the body and the mind are already tired. So some days might be good, some days probably going to be bad, but I anticipate that, and I'm a big believer in just putting in hard work, good, honest work, a lot of volume. I think that's always going to end up getting you a lot further than trying to make everything perfect or convincing yourself that you need to take a break and feel good all the time. I think there's a lot of merit to just training hard, pushing further than you believe you can, and the results that come from that, I think not only physical but mental, just drive you to go further in the long term. Anyway, that's how I'm feeling at the moment. So workout 1, we're doing 4-time 20 burpee box jumps to 24-inch box height, 10 each side single arm dumbbell snatch with a 32.5 kilo dumbbell, 20 burpee box jumps, and then 10 single arm dumbbell overhead squats, and then 20 burpee box jumps, and then 10 single arm dumbbell squat snatches each side. So just a couplet of burpee box jumps with dumbbell movements, which change each time. 32.5 kilo dumbbell, something that I've done a little bit more regularly in Sentinel Training's programming. It's made the 22.5 kilo dumbbell feel a lot better, something I used to struggle with. Obviously, they're just struggling with a simple box jump, but I did no rep myself, I'm pretty sure. So I do Well, it's only 20, but I did 21 attempts of this burpee box jump. The dumbbell snatch, very familiar movement, something that most people are doing all the time. Or maybe if you're not doing all the time, you would have done it at least a few times. And then the second movement, the overhead squat, was probably the most awkward one for me. I think starting the rep up the top and then squatting down just made for a bit of an awkward movement, something that I don't do too much of. And then the dumbbell squat snatch actually felt a bit shaky at first, but my left arm felt a little better, and I kind of got into a rhythm and learnt the technique a little bit as I was doing it. And my last set was, at least the last few reps, definitely felt a lot more smoother. I was dropping under the dumbbell as opposed to catching it high and sort of doing an overhead squat. So I was glad to hit on those two movements, which I don't do very often. They are a little bit of a more technical movement. The mobility becomes the big factor. Most people have the strength to do a 32.5 kilo squat and snatch, but keeping that single arm overhead is a lot harder for me than the dual or a barbell overhead, which is quite a comfortable movement. And one thing that Sentinel Training does well is they put in these movements in the training regularly. There's a lot of variance, but it's not like we're repeating these movements all the time, but we are doing different versions, different variations, different weights, and it just keeps the training fun, keeps it fresh, but you're still getting this constant improvement of similar movement patterns, and it just gives you more confidence in doing different workouts and knowing that you can hold on for X amount of reps, or you can do the movement comfortably, or you can start to push your speed a little harder, or you got to work on your efficiency. And a lot of the time when you do these sort of movements outside of a workout and you're just practicing it, you move very differently when you're fresh compared to when you're a bit fatigued, when your heart rate's up and you're breathing heavy. I think a lot of the time I've gotten better at doing movements when I'm under fatigue, just due to having to move more efficiently. When the body's tired, it doesn't fire the same as when you're fresh, so you kind of fall into doing it using the least amount of effort, which in CrossFit is a big factor. In a workout, you want to be minimizing the amount of expenditure from your body so you can push hard, unless the workout is extremely short, where the power and the fast twitch fibers become the main factor. So yeah, not the speediest time on this workout for me, but for some of the points I've just mentioned, this was a good workout to do just to get some practice on some of these movements. So finishing up here on the squat snatch, just under 9.5 minutes for that one. Now we're moving on to our lifting piece for the day. So we've got every 2.5 minutes for 8 sets. Squat snatch, 90% of the heaviest single from last week's session, which for me was 105 kilos. So we're using 95 kilos for this session. First 4 sets, we're doing 3 reps as singles, and then sets 5 to 8, we're doing 2 reps. Same weight for all of it. It's just as the sets progress and a little bit of fatigue sets in, we're dropping 1 rep off. These did feel pretty good, actually. I felt probably better doing these snatches than I have doing many of my other lifting pieces over the last few weeks. I don't know if it was just because the percentage was that little bit less. Being under 100 kilos on the bar, I think maybe is also mentally, you think it's going to feel lighter, and then I can lift the weight. It's not as taxing on the lower back for me off the floor. I do find like a hang movement with my weightlifting always feels more comfortable, as I don't have to hinge as far, and I can use a little bit more of just that upright jumping and pulling and upper body power. But off the ground, I always feel a little bit weaker. Still need some strength development, but felt all right. First 3 sets felt good, and then this 4th one, first rep was all right, and then my 3rd rep, I missed it, and then missed it again. Not sure exactly why. I think I was just getting a little bit too comfortable with the 3 reps, knowing that I was hitting it each time with no problem. Probably just got a little bit in my head around not putting in the right amount of effort. And then for the sets of 2 to come, I made sure I was putting in a good amount of effort for both reps each time to make sure I hit the reps well. And that was it. Pretty simple, this one. So I'll just let the rest of these reps play out, and we'll catch up on the next piece. So our workout number 2 for this session, we're doing every 3 minutes for 5 sets, 10 shuttle runs, so 25 foot down, 25 foot back for a 50-foot shuttle run, and then 5 rope climbs. Now, I wasn't really sure on how long each round would take. I knew that the shuttle runs are about a minute if you hold a decent enough pace, and then 5 rope climbs can be done in about 30 seconds if you just go up, down with no real rest. So I kind of thought if I can get this done in about a minute 50, I'd get a minute 10 rest. Definitely wanted to make sure each interval was done under 2 minutes. And first set was about a minute 45, 46. And then after that, dropped off by a couple seconds. And then I finished pretty strong with a minute 43. Good workout, this one. Very similar to the last few Saturdays, with this one being just a couplet of monostructural with some gymnastics. Last week we had the ski with the handstand push-up intervals. And this one I found was a little bit easier, being that it was just the shuttles into the 5 rope climbs and rest. There was no max rep shuttles in remaining time of, say, a 2-minute window. Not that I would have got more than probably 2 anyway, but this was a good workout. I had to stay a little bit disciplined on just making sure I'd stay near the rope, jump back up, and get through those 5, and then just aim to recover and hold pretty consistent intervals each round. So this was the last piece for the Sentinel training programming for the week. And then this afternoon session is my own training, my own extras work, some strength work, which you'll see coming up. But I'll let this one play out first, and we'll get on to the afternoon session after that. All right, so for session 2, starting off again with plyometric work. This week we're doing a running start box jump, just for height. So 10-minute EMOM, so just 10 jumps in total. Started off at 44-inch box height, so 24-inch box on the bottom and then 20-inch box on the top. Do this one for 3 jumps, and then felt a little bit more confidence, had to go up, so flipped the box up and went to 48-inch boxes for the remaining sets. I don't think I would have got much higher. I didn't try to go any higher, but 50 inches may have been doable, just throwing a little plate on top of the boxes, but we'll try that another time. We're just trying to prep the body, keep the fast twitch muscle fibers firing. I want to aim to do some plyometrics each week. Sentinel did have box jumps in this week's programming, but my plan was to do some running start ones to get a little bit of a higher box height. A little bit of a mishap there, just wasn't 100% committed to the jump, and luckily it didn't fall over. When you're doing these sort of box jumps, you definitely want to be fully committed mentally to each jump, as if you're not, then you can clip yourself pretty hard on the boxes. These are the softer boxes, not the wooden ones, so I wasn't too worried about it if it did happen, but yeah, that was the first part of this session. Now we're getting into the squat strength. So today we're doing back squat waves, 9 sets in total, every minute and a half, starting off with 3 reps at 140 kilos. Then the second set, we're doing 2 reps, third set, 1 rep. And then you repeat that rep scheme for another 2 rounds through, aiming to go a little bit heavier on each of those reps in each set. I just made 3 kilo jumps, and then on the last set of 1 rep, I made a 4 kilo jump. Not too significant, but just enough to give me a little bit of confidence in my top end squat strength. Still needs a lot of work. I want to be able to squat 180 kilos at some point this year, and I've got a lot of work to do to get there. My body weight at the moment is definitely one of the lightest it's been in recent times, but I am feeling a lot fitter, a bit leaner. Body fat is down a bit, so I'm happy with that. I think it's more important for me at this point to be feeling fit, feeling light and fast, as opposed to getting my absolute strength up, knowing that even if I was to increase it, I'm not going to be able to keep up with the squat strength and the weightlifting strength of some of the guys at Torian. But if I can compete harder on the events that I know I'm strong at and have had weaknesses in fitness areas in the past, then I'm going to pursue that a little bit harder in these last few weeks. The strength work is mainly to just keep the body fresh, accustomed to the weights, and then hopefully able to handle it or pull out something, miracle-wise on the competition floor. But I am definitely much more confident in my ability for my general overall capacity as opposed to my top-end strength at the moment. So doing as best I can, trying to push the weights hard, but being realistic and knowing that it is where it's at, and it's going to take me a little bit more time to develop this to a point where I can start to compete with the top guys. So my top set today, I finished off with 153 kilos, which I'm happy with that. I would like it to be a little bit stronger. If my squat was about a 165 to 170 back squat, I'd be pretty satisfied at the moment, considering where everything else is fitness-wise. But the one thing I don't do is use any lifting gear, so no weightlifting belt or knee wraps, knee sleeves, wrist wraps. I know a lot of people use it for nearly everything, which just something I just can't get behind. I've used a belt in the past in my bodybuilding days, and that was purely for aesthetic reasons, to keep a tight waist. It was never to help me lift more. In CrossFit, I just don't think that it has any transfer into the real world. When I'm at work and I lift up full bundles of steel onto my shoulder and walk with it, I don't go and get my belt out of my esky and my knee sleeves and put them on and spend 5 minutes fart-assing around just to get a job done. So, I think if you can't lift the weight with your body as it is, then you can't actually lift it at all. And that's just my opinion. I know it has a place. I know that belts work to get the performance out, maybe in the future in competition I would benefit from it. Maybe it's the reason I'm not getting stronger, who knows, but I stayed true to a lot of things that I believe at the times, and for the last few years I've believed firmly that if you can't do the weight with no gear, then you can't actually do the weight. So I'll continue to train as I am, and just aim to get stronger like that. I've got my bench to a 165, just doing it by training, and I think I could do the same with my squats and deadlifts if I just hit it a little bit harder like I did with my bench press in the past. Today I'm doing bench with 125 kilos. First set was with 120, just a 10-minute EMOM. Wanted to reintroduce a little bit more benching for the last few weeks, knowing that it is a strength of mine and it's been a little bit down lately. So just getting some volume in with some slightly heavier weights in this one. 20 reps with 120 to 125 kilos, and felt decent, grinding at most of these reps, but the recovery in that sort of 50 seconds of rest is there to be able to do the 2 reps each set. I'd like to get my bench over 140 by the time Torian rolls around. Closer to 145 I think is realistic. I don't feel as sturdy at this lower body weight. When I've been bulking up and eating a bit more, I just feel a bit more full. Joints feel protected. Everything feels much safer and stronger. But I think, like I've said before, it's not as important for me at the moment, and my bench is still strong enough at this body weight and with my fitness capacity. So that was it for the strength work, and then we're finishing today's session with a workout, just something I kind of made up just before doing it. 2 rounds for time, 10 thrusters with 80 kilos, 15 D-ball clean and jerk over the bar with a 100-pound or /45 kilo D-ball, and then 20 dumbbell bench press with 32 and a halves, and then 25 calorie row. I mainly just threw the row in there as a little bit of a break before starting the second round, being that the thrusters, the clean and jerk, and the dumbbell press are very taxing on the shoulders and pressing, and the row just does a little bit of pulling in legs and gets the breathing up a little bit. 2 rounds. I wasn't really sure how long this workout would take. I gave myself 16 minutes, and it took me almost all that time. It was actually quite a hard workout. I wanted to just get some different movements in, some things that I haven't really done much of, which heavy thrusters is one. This D-ball over the bar is a great movement, which I actually got from Taylor Self, who programs for Sentinel training. It's honestly something that shouldn't be as hard as it looks. It's such a awkward press over if you put the right height bar. If it's too low and you don't get that full press out, it's definitely not as hard, but you should try these if you've never done them. Such a taxing movement. You just feel like it's taken forever to get through. The shoulders really burn, and it becomes very hard to complete the rep if you're not putting in full effort. You've got to really drive that ball up and over the bar, and if it falls back, well, it's a big wasted effort. The dumbbell bench press, just wanted to use that as a bit of an accessory for my bench press from before this. And then the row just completes the workout. 2 rounds. I was going into the second round believing that I was going to have to break up the thrusters into 2 sets, probably going with like a 5 and 5 or a 6 and 4 rep scheme. But I did the first 5 reps, and I, for some reason, thought I'll go for 6, then 7, and I felt fine to just grind out the last 3 because I really didn't want to have to pick up the bar again. With this sort of weight, doing the clean and the whole process again, and then standing there looking at the bar, it just makes it mentally tough. But if you haven't done the D-ball clean and jerk over the bar, definitely recommend it. If you are a taller athlete, set the bar height a little bit higher. If you're in a competition, you're just going to have an advantage, obviously, but in training, to get a good stimulus and effect, I would set it a little bit higher and aim to really have to extend yourself and work 100% on each rep. So that's all for this session. Another Saturday in the books. Body's pretty tired. this workout was pretty tough to finish it off, but one more session for this week to go, and then we're into another week of full training before getting a little bit of a deload week. So I'll see you tomorrow for some beach sprints in the morning.